20 conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. And it's been so many conspiracy theories over the years that turned out to be true. And it took years for mainstream media to sometimes admit it if they do decide to admit some of these so-called conspiracy theories. And we know that the whole term conspiracy theory was created after JFK was assassinated by the CIA as a way to basically demean or degrade anyone with information that was against their narrative. And they still use it again today, of course. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my merch store. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. In 2013, Edward Snowden, a former National Security Agency contractor, leaked classified documents that revealed the extent of the U.S. government surveillance programs. The documents showed that the NSA was collecting phone records of millions of Americans and spying on foreign governments and individuals. Snowden's revelations sparked a global debate about government surveillance and privacy rights. And it's only gotten worse now. It's been 10 years and it hasn't got any better. But this wasn't the first or last conspiracy theory that was revealed to be true in the end. So I'm going to cover 20 of them and give just a little short little blurb on each of them. And for more details, y'all can Google this stuff, most of this stuff, and find and get more details about it yourself. Maybe I'll do a separate videos on a couple of these that I find very, very meaningful and important for people to know. But first, we have Operation Mockingbird. That's the CIA's covert operation to control the media by planning stories and manipulating the news was exposed in the 1970s. Of course, something else that they continue to do today, and now they censor a lot of the news, and we have tons of reports about that through Twitter. And I have a whole playlist of that, the whole Twitter files, if y'all want to check that out as well. But the Lavon Affair, and in 1954, Israeli agents planted bombs in U.S. and Ukraine and UK targets in Egypt to frame Muslim Brotherhood militants and damage U.S.-Egyptian relations. The operation became known as the Lavon Affair after Israeli Defense Minister Panas Lavon, who was forced to resign. And this is supposed to be our allies, mind you. And I'm not going to get into the Israel thing right now, but that's a whole nother issue. Then we got CIA assassinations. The CIA was involved in multiple assassinations of foreign leaders, including Patrice Lumumba of Congo and Salvador Allende of Chile. Colintelpro, and this is a huge, huge one. The FBI's counterintelligence program was aimed at disrupting and discrediting political organizations in the U.S. It included illegal surveillance, infiltration, and harassment of civil rights leaders and anti-war activists. And a lot of COINTELPRO was used to try to destroy the Black Panther movement. And we all know this one. This was really talked about a lot during the whole COVID jab thing, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. And from 1932 to 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted an unethical medical experiment on African American men with syphilis without their knowledge or consent. I mean, just disgusting. This is our government, and people still want to trust government today, which I don't understand. You don't think they're still doing this type of stuff? Then we got the Iran-Contra affair. In the 1980s, the U.S. sold weapons to Iran and used the proceeds to fund Contra rebels in Nicaragua, despite the congressional ban on such funding. Operation Gladio, that's another huge one. A secret NATO network of anti-communists, quote, stay-behind armies operated in Europe from 1950s to the 1990s. It was involved in numerous terrorist attacks and assassinations. Watergate, wow, and this is another big one. They take this stuff even further today. We look at what they did to Trump and what they continue to do to Trump. But the Watergate scandal is considered one of the most significant political scandals in U.S. history. The scandal involved the Nixon administration, which was accused of breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate complex to spy on their political opponents. The scandal eventually led to Nixon's resignation and several White House officials being indicted and convicted. Now, I also want to add to this that people now don't actually believe that Nixon was behind the actual break-in of the Watergate. People believe that he was set up. It was the cover-up. He tried to cover it up that got him actually people was going after him for was the cover up. Then we have Operation Northwoods. This is another big one. Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation by the U.S. government in the 1960s to stage terrorist attacks against U.S. citizens to justify war in Cuba. 9/11 sound familiar? But the plan was rejected by then President Kennedy, but it was later revealed through declassified documents. So you don't think, would we have a president that would actually go through this type of scenario? Again, think 9/11. The Iran hostage crisis in 1979, the crisis at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran was initially dismissed by some as a staged event to demonize Iran. However, it was later confirmed to be a genuine crisis. The BCCI scandal, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, was a corrupt bank that laundered money for drug cartels, terrorists, and corrupt politicians. Its downfall in the 1990s exposed widespread corruption in the banking industry, which again continues today. Well, prohibition poisonings, and this is a disgusting thing. From 1920 to 1933, the U.S. government put a ban on all alcoholic sales due to the ethical and moral corruption in its hypothesized to cause. During this period, the government began adding toxic chemicals to industrial alcohol to discourage people from drinking it. Just disgusting. The chemicals used included things like kerosene, gasoline, and formaldehyde, which led to thousands of deaths and illness. Despite the risk, the government continued to poison alcohol until prohibition was repealed in 1933. Just disgusting. I mean, the government intentionally poisoned people. Again, and people who in their right mind would trust government today. Then we got the business plot. In 1933, wealthy businessmen allegedly planned a coup to overthrow President Roosevelt and install a fascist government. The plot was exposed by Marine Corps General Smedley Butler. Butler was a hero. Where are these generals today? Why aren't any of these generals stepping up today is my question. We need new Smedley Butlers to stop our out of control government. But the Iran-Contra drug trafficking, the Contra rebels funded by the U.S. government were involved in drug trafficking to finance their activities. The CIA was aware of the drug trade, but turned a blind eye, of course. Operation Ajax, the U.S. and U.K. orchestrated a coup in Iran in 1953 to overthrow Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who had nationalized the country's oil industry. You know, they hate that. They hate people being sovereign. Then we got MK Ultra, another big one. MK Ultra was a CIA project in the 1950s and 60s that involved mind control experiments on human subjects. The experiments included the use of drugs, hypnosis, and other forms of psychological torture. The project was initially denied by the CIA, but it was later confirmed through declassified documents. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, and this is one of my I think one of the most important incidents here. The 1964 attack on the USS Maddox in the Gulf of Tonkin was used as a pretext for U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. Declassified documents later revealed that the attack never even happened. The government straight up lied to people to get us into the Vietnam War. It's disgusting. The Manhattan Project, the top secret U.S. government project to develop the first atomic bomb, was kept hidden from the public until after the bombs were dropped in Japan in 1945. And then we had the Roswell incident. Everyone's familiar with this one. The Roswell incident has long been a topic of debate among conspiracy theorists, with many believing that the U.S. government covered up evidence of an alien spacecraft crash in 1947. While the government initially denied any knowledge of the incident, it later admitted that it had in fact been involved in recovery of a flying disc. But those are some of the most important conspiracy theories over history. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.